بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. Tonight's lecture is going to be about the similarities between Imam Mahdi Ajallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif and Nabi Sulayman alayhi salam, or Solomon as known in English. This is one of the lectures in the series of comparing the Imams with the prophets of old. Not putting them on the same rank or level as we discussed in the introduction, but just showing similarities between the stories and the abilities and things like this. So we can look at the story of Nabi Sulayman and we can gain some insight from that, and we can show some of the things that the Imam of our time has done. People say that he can't do these things can be done, and we can show them through the story of Nabi Sulayman alayhi salam. The first resemblance I'd like to point out is that both of them received their position at a very young age. Nabi Sulayman was appointed to prophethood when he was 13 years old. And we also see that Imam Mahdi was appointed to his position at the age of 5 years old, when his father, Imam Hassan al-Askari, passed away and was martyred. He assumed this position, and a lot of people were surprised. How can a young boy of this age lead me in, lead our community and know the affairs of the people and all of these things? And this is also seen in Quran, in these type of stories. Nabi Sulayman was also very young, was 13 years old. And we also have similarities, which we'll get to in later lectures, where Prophet Yahya, or John the Baptist they call him, was also given prophethood at a very young age as a small boy. And Nabi Isa alayhi salam, or Jesus, he was also he also spoke in the cradle and testified that he was a prophet himself. And we have these same things with Imam Zaman, or Imam Mahdi Ajallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, where he spoke when he was a small child. As soon as he was born, he testified to the oneness of Allah, the messengership of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, and all of the Imams up until him. And also when he was just 7 days old, his father, Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, asked him to read to the people that were in the house of the other previous books. And he read from the book of Adam in Assyrian language, and the book of Musa, the book of Ibrahim, the book of Isa, the Quran, all of these books in their own languages and dialects when he was only 7 days old. So the Imams are gifted with this special knowledge from Allah. It doesn't matter their age. It's not the normal occurrence with us, because they were gifted this position and this status, and they are the most knowledgeable and the proof on the earth. So definitely the proof on the earth has to know more than the ordinary person, despite what their age might be. So we see in the Quran and Surah 27, Allah says in ayat 16 and 17, and Solomon was David's heir. He said, O people, O people, we have been taught the speech of the birds, and a little of all things has been bestowed on us. This is truly a manifest grace from Allah. And Solomon's host of jinns and men and birds were marshaled before him, and they were all kept in order and ranks. So there's many different things we can get from this ayat. And I'm just going to go over a few of them. The first one is that we see that the prophets leave inheritance, which was a big discussion with the land of Fadak, with Fatima Zahra alayha salam, where they tried to say that the prophets did not inherit, and they took her land from her unlawfully. She used this ayat to argue with the Abu Bakr, who took the land from her, to prove her position of Fadak. That is a whole nother discussion, but what I want to show is that the prophets do leave inheritance, and that Imam Mahdi is the inheritor of the prophets. In the same way the Imams before him were inheritor, they all passed the things down to each other. And all of those things are in possession with Imam Mahdi, Ajallah Ta'ala Fajr Sharif. I want to discuss some of the things that they have. Not all of them, but it's some of the things, a good amount of the things. They possess two containers. One is called the white Jafar, and the other is called the red Jafar. So the white Jafar is it contains all the books of the earlier prophets and all of the writings and knowledge of the earlier prophets. It also contains a scroll or a book called Al-Jami'ah, which has the judgments of everything, all of the judgments. It says even to a scratch, it contains all of the judgments. And this information can be found in Basa'u Darajat. It's a famous book that we have, and there's many chapters on this subject. The next thing they had were sealed scrolls with instructions to each imam, and they had 7 golden seals on them. And certain imams, they passed it from one to the other, and they had to open the scroll at the prescribed time, and it gave them instructions on what they needed to do and certain things that would happen during their time. This was also contained in the white Jafar. They also had the Mushaf of Fatima, which is recorded to be about 3 times the size of the Quran, but it doesn't contain Quran in it. A lot of people try to accuse us, Shia, that we have a different Quran than the one that they have, which is not correct. They say that this Mushaf of Fatima is our Quran, which this is a book that the angels dictated things to Fatima Zahra alayha salam, and she wrote them down. They also have a parchment or a scroll with the names of all their Shia and their followers on them. All their Shia and their fathers' names on them, on all of these, this scroll that they have. So they know all of their Shia. And this is, you can also see this in the letter to Sheikh Mufid that Imam Zaman wrote, where he says he knows us and he knows our situations and what we go through, and he knows his Shia by name. So he's well aware of what is going on with us, even though we might forget about our Imam, unfortunately. There's also another scroll with them that has all of the names of the people who will be in Jannah or in paradise and the people who will be in hellfire. They have this scroll with all of the names on them. And also we know the famous thing with Imam Ali alayhi salam said he is the divider between the heaven and the hell. So they know the people and they know them, know their places. So the other thing that the Imams have, this was the white Jafar that they inherited. They have the red Jafar. It's another container which contains the weapons and relics of the prophets. Some of them are the banner of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the shirt that he wore in the Battle of Uhud, his armor, his helmet, his sword, Dhul Fiqar. They have the staff of Musa alayhi salam, the shirt of Adam alayhi salam, and they also have the ring of the Prophet. And to link this to Nabi Sulayman, they also have the ring of Sulayman. And engraved on the ring, it said, "Glory be to the one by whose words the jinn were muzzled," because he had control over the jinn and the animals and all of the creation. And you have the imams and the prophets and these representatives of Allah. They have walayatul taqwini. They have control over the earth and those who are in it. So this is the first point, that the prophets did inherit, and that Imam Mahdi Ajallah Ta'ala Fajr Sharif is the inheritor of the prophets, and he has all of these things in his possession. In the same way that we read from the ayah that Sulayman inherited from Dawood, Imam Mahdi inherited from his father and all the way back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second point we can get from this ayat, these ayats are that Nabi Sulayman, he knew the language of the birds and the animals and the jinn, because it said the jinn worked for him. It said and Solomon's host of the jinns and men and birds were marshaled before him, and they were kept in order and ranks. So this showed that Nabi Sulayman, he knew the language of the birds and the animals and the jinn, which this because he had them under his command. And we see there's a beautiful narration in Basar al-Darajat. Imam Ali alayhi salam said to Ibn Abbas, Allah has taught us the language of the birds, and he had taught Sulayman and the language of every animal and the land and the sea. So we see from this that that the imams also know the language of the jinn and the animals and the birds. And we can see this in many examples throughout the lives of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. For example, Imam Ali alayhi salam was giving a sermon in Masjid al-Kufa. And there's a famous door here in Masjid al-Kufa for those of you who have been there. It's called Babu Thu'ban. So this is the door of the snake, basically, of what they called it. And there's a miraculous thing that happened there. He said when he was giving the lecture, there was a snake that came in through that door. And the snake came through the door, and everyone was scared. And he told the people, don't be scared. You know, the snake slithered his way. Must have been a really big snake, you know, for people to be scared like this and notice it. And the snake came to Imam Ali and spoke with Imam Ali where the other people couldn't hear it, but he spoke with the Imam, and they saw that the snake was talking to the Imam because it was very close to him. And then he spoke back to the snake, and he told them what happened was the snake came to ask a difficult question from the Imam that he had in regards to his people, and it was a jinn in the form of a snake that came to him. So from this day on, they called that door Babu Thu'ban, the door of the snake. Also, we see that Imam Qadim alayhi salam, there's a story where he spoke to a lion, and also Imam Ali alayhi salam spoke to a lion in the land of Karbala and asked him to defend Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the day he would need him. The lion's name is Abu Harith, and there's a special maqam in Karbala for those of you who have been or those of you who will go in the future, inshallah. May Allah allow us all to go to Karbala and accept our ziyarat. There's a maqam there where it has the picture of the lion, and Fidda was a servant of Ahlul Bayt. She was there with the women of Ahlul Bayt, and she stood on this place, this maqam, and called out to this lion, and she said that, you know, the people were going to trample the body of Imam Hussein and come and protect the lion, and the lion came after some time, you know, and the people had already left Karbala on their way to Sham, and the lion is said to have guarded the body of Imam Hussein from other animals until the people came and buried Imam Hussein. So this place is in Karbala. It's a maqam of Abu Harith. So also the imams are, you know, the imams are the imams of jinn and men and all of creation, like we said. So they definitely know the languages of all of the creation, and they're well equipped and well aware of all the circumstances to do with them, because they have to answer their questions, so they must be familiar with their communities. So this is the second point that we can get from these ayat. The third point is the mercy and the justness when he was, it's the third point is the mercy and the justness of Nabi Sulayman. When the ant called out in the surah and Quran, it says that the ants told the other ants to go in your homes and your houses and be careful that Nabi Sulayman would not step on you, and while he was unaware. And you see that the Prophet diverted his path to go around these ants and not to cause them any problems. Whereas we today, we might not even care what we step on or what, you know, the prophets were so merciful that they didn't even want to harm an ant. And we have a narration about Imam Ali alayhi salam that said he would not do injustice to anyone, even the magnitude of taking a grain of barley off of the back of an ant. He would not do injustice to even to this amount. The Imams and the Prophets and the Ma'sumin, they're infallible and they do not commit any injustice to mankind. And we can see this from Quran. And we know that Imam Mahdi is the one who will come back to restore justice and remove oppression to people. And we see that Nabi Sulayman had this quality as well, where he was merciful and just even to the smallest creature the size of an ant. So Imam Mahdi will also be in this way. And we have, as he's described by Imam Rida alayhi salam, Mahdi yakunu rahmatal mu'minin wa adhaban ala kafirin. Imam Mahdi, Imam Rida alayhi salam says that Imam Mahdi is the mercy for the believers and he's a punishment for the disbelievers. Also, during the time of Nabi Sulayman, wealth was abundant. There was a lot of wealth, and he had the men and the jinn and the animals working for him. And we'll see this would be the same situation in the time of Imam Zaman's reappearance. May Allah hasten his reappearance. He will bring out the treasures from the earth and show people what they lacked. Like we have a lot of problems now in our world and our environment and all of these things, and a lot of poverty. And when you look at the main source of crime, it's usually poverty. People don't have things, so they steal or they oppress other people. The Imam knows the treasures of the earth and where to find them and how to utilize them, and this will eradicate poverty, which will in turn eradicate the all of the high crime and oppression. He knows all of the sciences that we might not know now, but he's well aware of them, and he'll come and perfect the sciences which will show the people how to go about accessing these treasures in the earth. It's said in the time of Imam Zaman that there will be so much abundance of wealth that people will go to pay their zakat and they won't even have anybody to give it to. Everyone will say, no, I'm okay. I have plenty. I'm not poor. I don't need it. And they won't have anywhere to even give it to. And the people will also trust each other so much that a person can basically, it says, take from the pocket of his brother, and no one, everyone trusts each other and gives freely, and they don't really care about that because the wealth is so abundant. And nowadays it's very hard to maybe someone asks for somebody, can I get this loan, but they don't want to give it because the money is tight, and they say, I don't have it. And sometimes we are put in difficult situations where we don't have money or things to get. And in this time, when Imam Mahdi's reappearance, there won't be that problem because the wealth will be abundant. Moving on to the next ayat, it says, Nabi Sulayman said to his company chiefs, which of you can bring me her throne before they come to me in submission? So he's talking about Bilqis, or the Queen of Sheba as she's called. She had a throne, and Nabi Sulayman wanted to bring the throne to her. She was he sent a letter to her to visit and see the kingdom, and he was going to tell her about the oneness of Allah and teach her about Allah's religion. So he said, can someone bring her throne to me before they come? So said one of the jinns, I'll bring it to you before you rise from your council. I truly have full strength for the purpose and may be trusted. But the one who had the knowledge of the book said, I will bring it to you with the twinkling of your eye, before the twinkling of your eye, before you blink, basically. Then when Solomon saw it placed before him, he said, this is by the grace of my Lord to test me whether I am grateful or ungrateful. And if any is grateful, truly his gratitude is a bounty for his own soul. But if any is ungrateful, truly my Lord is free of all needs, supreme in honor. This is from the same surah in ayat 38 and ayat 40. So the one who brought the throne of Bilqis was Asif ibn Barkhia. He was the successor of the Prophet. So he wasn't even, for those who say only prophets can do these things. No, this was successor of the Prophet. And we say the same thing about Imam Mahdi and all of the other Imams. They were successors of the Prophet and they could do these things as well. And we see that he had some knowledge of the book. It just said that he had some knowledge of the book, not the complete knowledge. And there are 73 parts of this knowledge. And out of these, Asif ibn Barkhia had one of them. And he brought the throne with just one part of the knowledge, some small part of the knowledge. He brought the throne all the way from Yemen to where Nabi Sulayman was with the blink of an eye, with just one part of the knowledge. So what do you think about Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? They have 72 of the 73 parts of knowledge. Imagine what they can do, and this person only had one part of the knowledge. He brought it with the blink of an eye. SubhanAllah. The fadal of Ahlul Bayt are amazing. When we read the narrations, it's just absolutely amazing. And we also see in the Quran and Surah 21, Ayah 81, it was our power that made the violent, unruly wind blow tamely for Solomon, subservient to his order, to the land which we had blessed, for we know all things. So we see that Nabi Sulayman, he had control of the wind. He could control the wind, and it could also allow him to travel the distance of a longer span of time in a short amount of time. Once Sulayman was passing with his entourage, and a farmer muttered some words to himself. He saw Sulayman with all of his things marching and passing by, and he said some words of amazement, like wow, and also envy. And the wind took these words to Nabi Sulayman, who stopped his caravan and walked over to the farmer. And he warned him not to wish for what he doesn't have the strength to bear, because he wished for what Nabi Sulayman had, but he couldn't. He knew Nabi Sulayman said that don't wish for those things you can't bear, because he might not have been able to handle it. He continued to say that a single word of praise uttered with sincerity, a single word of praise to Allah uttered with sincerity is better than all of the wealth and the power in the house of Dawood, because the reward for that praise will last in eternity, and the kingdom of Sulayman will eventually perish. So he showed them all of these things that you see. It really doesn't mean anything. The real thing that has meaning to it is praising Allah. And we also see that in the Quran, where it says Allah created men and jinn to worship Him, and this is the aim. So we should take a lesson from this and not get caught up in too many materialistic things and trying to keep up with the next person and all of these things. We should worry about trying to do the best we can in our amal, and praise Allah and remember Him frequently, and try to gain more knowledge, and so that we can worship Allah better, inshallah ta'ala. We also can see from that Nabi Sulayman, and when he had control of the wind, when I was saying that he can travel from one place to the next easily, we also see that this is possible for the Imams as well. There was a person named Ali ibn Khalid, and he heard about a man who they had locked up in Baghdad, I believe. And the man, they said they had this person in prison. Ali ibn Khalid was a Zaydi. He did not believe in some of the further Imams and the later Imams. And he heard about this man in prison. He said, "Oh, this man is a fortune teller who they locked up, and he's basically a psychic, a fortune teller." He said, "I wonder what the story of this person is." So he went to the person and he said, "What's your story?" So the man who was locked up, he said, "One day I was praying in Syria, and all of a sudden he was praying at the place that Imam Hussein's head was before when they took him to Syria, praying around that spot. And a man came to him and said, "Come with me." And he said, "Okay." So he left and went with him. And he said, "Do you recognize this masjid that you're in?" He said, "Yes, this is Masjid Nabawi in Medina." It's like, wow, we're in Masjid Nabawi. We were just in Syria. How, he's thinking to himself. And he said, "Okay, come with me." And then he went with him. He said, "Do you recognize this place?" "Yes, this is Masjid al-Kufa." And then he was really amazed. And the next thing you know, he was back in Syria. So he was really amazed about this thing. He didn't tell anybody about it. He kept it to himself. And then later, the next year, same thing happened. The person came to him again. And he grabbed the person. He said, "Please, tell me, who are you?" And the man didn't say anything. And he said, "I ask you by the right of the one who gave you that power to take me to Medina and take me to Kufa in a blink of an eye." And he said, "I'm Musa ibn Ja'far, alayhi salam." So Imam called him the seventh Imam. Actually, no, I'm mistaken. It is it's Imam Jawad alayhi salam who did this. Yeah. So the Imam told told him who he was, and then the man went and he told somebody, and he wrote it down, and anyway, word got to the governor, so they locked him up and they brought him to the prison. So he said, "I need to get out of here. I don't want to be in prison anymore. So let me write a letter to the governor and try to settle this situation, because I'm not a fortune teller or whatever it is they call me." So he told the person, and he wrote the letter to the governor. And the governor responded and said, "Okay, well, why don't you tell that same person who brought you to Medina and to Kufa and all of those places to get you out of the jail too," trying to be funny and sarcastic and, in that way. So he was distressed, but he called out on the Imam. And the next day, that same person, Ali ibn Khalid, he saw all of these people around the jail. He was like, "What's going on?" So he asked the people, and the guard said, "We don't know where that person went. Either the birds carried him up into the sky or the earth swallowed him." And they didn't know where he went. And after that, that person who was a Zaydi, he became to believe in the later Imams, and became, he believed in all of the Imams after that point. So this is what converted him. And also, to relate it back to Imam Mahdi, Ajallah Ta'ala Farajul Sharif, there's a story of a man, I believe his name's Ali Rashdi, and he was on a boat one time traveling, and he saw all these other people on the boat, and they were laughing and joking and all of these things and doing inappropriate jokes and stuff like this. And he saw one other person, and he was like, he wasn't doing anything. He was just by himself, and looked like he was contemplating things, and he wasn't taking part in the other stuff. So he went up to that man and said, "Why aren't you joking and doing all the things with the other people?" And he says, "Oh, well, I don't do that sort of thing. I'm a Shia, and these are my family members, and they're Sunnis." And so he said, "Oh, wow, how did you become Shia out of, and all your family is Sunni?" Like, the same thing. A lot of converts get asked that question. "Oh, wow, how did you convert to Islam when your whole family is Christian or Jewish or whatever your family background came from?" So he was interested. He wanted to know about it. So the man told him, "Okay, I'll tell you." He said, "One day we were on a journey, and I was with a caravan, and we all fell asleep. And then the next day I woke up. I guess I overslept, and everyone was gone. And I was looking around, they didn't have alarm clocks in those days to set and say, 'Oh, we're all going to leave at 8 o'clock in the morning.' So the person woke up and everyone was gone, and no one, woke him up and took him with him. So he's wandering in the desert. He's thinking he's going to die. And, he was a Sunni. So he said, I called on my khulafa, and asked them to help me. He called, he called Abu Bakr, and he called Omar, and he called Uthman. And, nothing happened. And he was in real desperation, and most of the time when the need comes, it's when you're the most desperate and you think that you're almost at the point where you think nothing's going to happen. And he said, I remember my grandmother said that there was a person, his grandmother was Shia, and there was a person that they call in times of need named Abu Saleh Mahdi. So he called, he said, Ya Abu Saleh Mahdi adrikni, help me. Imam Mahdi, the one that my grandmother told me about, she said that you'll help me and this time. So help me. And he saw someone coming, in the distance. And he said he saw a beautiful face of a person, and he came to him and he said, how can I, help you? I see you're in this desert and you don't know your way. And the man said, I need to find where my caravan is and where this, where they're going and rejoin them. So the man told him, it was this Imam Mahdi, Ajallah Ta'ala Frajul Sharif said, go this way in this direction and you'll find the town, and in this town you'll find your caravan, and you'll get there safely, and I have to go now. So the man said, no, please don't leave me, don't go. I want you to stay with me, and please, walk with me to the town. And he's like, no, I can't go there, you'll be safe, and just follow the directions I gave you. He said, no, please stay with me. He said, I can't. He said, well, why can't you stay with me? And he called and he told the man, he said, as you called me just now for help, there's thousands of other people all around the world calling my name for me to go help them, and I have to help them, So whenever we get in a time of need or a time of desperation or anything, we should always send salam to the Imam of our time and ask for his help and his aid and all of the things, because Allah placed him here on earth as his proof, and he is our master and he's the master of our time. And we should pray for his reappearance and for his safety, and we should always ask for his help, because he's always there to help us. But we need to call out and ask for his help. And he's aware of our situations, and even it says when we pray that he says, Ameen behind our prayers. And there's also narrations that say that those who remember his grandfather Imam Hussein, Imam Mahdi will pray for you. And we know when we give the salam, Assalamu alayka ya Imam Mahdi, that or ya Sahib al-Zaman, or many of the names that you can call him by, that the salam is wajib to reply to the salam. So the Imam will reply to your salam, and you ask your hajat from the Imam. Ask for your needs, and be sure and confident that the Imam will help you solve your difficulties, bi'idhnillah. And with this, I'd like to conclude the lecture about the comparison between Nabi Sulayman and Imam Mahdi. May Allah accept it from us, and I hope that you benefited from this talk. We'll end with dua faraj, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma kun li waliyaka al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Salawatuka alayhi wa ala aba'ih. فهذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكناه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أداءهم.